Well, thank you again for letting us come. Um, I really just wanted to, again, really open up some conversation between the School of Medicine and the programs, and just really try to share with you what we're doing, and then get some perspectives from you all, so that we can kind of work together as a team. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we are, Kim and I, and then give you a little bit of a background of what our career planning process is at School of Medicine, tell you a little bit about where we are with step 1 and step 2, and then just the last year's match data. Just hopefully you're a little bit curious, and that it'll be interesting for you to see. And then we'll have a little bit of discussion, and I have a couple asks for the programs as we end the talk today. So we're Kim Hosklaw and Olivia Middle. We are basically the team that does the careers planning process for the School of Medicine. So I'm Olivia Middle. I am a professor of pediatrics. I am one of the hospitalists at Children's, and I also am the Associate Dean for Student Affairs. So I like the role in Student Affairs is basically all the co-curricular processes that go on with the School of Medicine. So our office oversees things like white coat ceremony, graduation, all registration for classes, financial aid, academic support, career planning, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a big role. There's about 12 of us in student affairs, including 2 associate deans or assistant deans. And we all just kind of work together to really hopefully make the student experience a good one, and to ultimately get them the job of their dreams, which is our main goal. And that's what Kim Holsklaw does. As anybody that's worked with her knows that she's a rock star. She wouldn't let me put that as her title, but she's our Careers in Medicine liaison for the AAMC and the residency match coordinator, which means she puts together the MSPE, she organizes the students, and then walks me through the career planning from day 1 of the students coming in through graduation and match day. So Kim has a huge role in that, and I just want to make sure that you all know both of us as sources of both information for you all, but also for you all to share information with us as the need may arise. So that is who we are. Kim has opted not to speak unless I make an error, and then she'll pipe in today. But just know that that she and I are both here if you have any questions or that. So with that, I think what I'm going to do is just give you a quick overview of our career planning process from School of Medicine, because I do want you to know, as programs, what we say to our students. I think there's a lot of confusion back and forth, and the students were like, no one ever told us that. And if you've worked with students, probably residents as well, you know that that's not always the case. So I do want to let you know kind of what we do and where we start from, really the start of school. I'm not going to go through all of these details at all by any means, but I do want you to know that during M1 year, we follow the Careers in Medicine, the AAMC Careers in Medicine process and the timeline, and there's assessment. So there's the MSPI assessment, and don't ask me what it stands for, but it's essentially a personality type test, like an all-encompassing test that tells you what, based on your answers to this based on the answers to this assessment, what specialty or specialties you'd most fit. Now, it doesn't always work, but it does give the students a good point of self-reflection to say, like, wow, I didn't think that I would be interested in pediatrics, but I'll explore that. Or I really didn't think I'd be a surgical subspecialty, but you know what, maybe I'll look into that. And so we start that from the beginning. And then there are requirements for the students to do shadowing experiences during their first and second years while they are doing their preclinical coursework. So that stuff is something that we do at the school, and these are mandatory. Some of them, not everything is mandatory, but there are some components of this that are mandatory. We also have an advisory dean system, where we have our students. We have advisory deans, and so I'm sure some of the program directors, or at least some of you know people that are advisory deans. And basically all of our students are separated out into these 6 advisory colleges, and there's deans within those colleges. And so the students all have a faculty mentor, a MD faculty mentor, to ask questions about during this time and guide them through. So Kim said it's the medical specialty preferences indicator or something. It went away when I started saying it, but okay, so that's M1. M2 is very similar. We do continue the conversation. I have meetings with them talking about what they should be doing right now to be kind of securing their residency position. You know, I let students know that they have a very different experience if they're going in the primary care route versus a much more competitive specialty route. I let them know, just kind of generally speaking, you know, the process and what they need to be doing and what they need to be seeking, what opportunities they need to be seeking out in order to be successful in the match. And again, all of this stuff is very general advice. If they have specific questions, they can always come to me, but we also advise them. And this is one of the things I want to make sure everyone knows here. I think you all do, but we do tell the students that the program director serves as the specialty specific mentor in that field that they're going into. So they should establish a relationship with the program director when they know what they're going to do, and ask the questions that are specific to that specialty of the program directors. Now, if program directors, I realize they're super busy, if you designate someone else to be that person, some programs I know do the clerkship director as kind of the specialty specific mentor, and that's fine if you do that, but just let us know so that we can guide our students and tell them where to go. Okay, so for M3, it starts really picking up, as you might expect, because now the students are doing their clerkship rotations and they're starting to figure out what they want to do. And that, you know, usually by middle of 3rd year, most students know what they want, or they have it narrowed down between a couple. And so those things are, we do start picking up, and we start telling them to start working with the program directors much more closely, and developing relationships with advisees in that specialty to help with things like getting research projects or other things. So that's the other stuff that we tell them. One of the things I'll bring up a little bit later is that we used to, pre-COVID, we used to have a meeting with the M3s, usually in January, where we'd kind of talk about some of the timelines and what you need to be doing now, and getting your CV together, starting working on your noteworthy characteristics for your MSPE. And then we had a breakout session with program directors afterwards. So it was like an evening kind of breakout session. We'd like to resurrect that, so I wanted to get people's opinions on that as we move forward. So I'll come back to that when we have some discussion time, but just to throw that out there and let you all know that that's something that we were thinking about, getting that back together. Okay, and then all along this time we have the Careers in Medicine website, and we remind the students that it's important for them to kind of just to look through what the AAMC gives as guidelines for choosing a specialty. All right, so 4th year, again, more of the same, but we do walk them through everything from picking letters of rec, writing personal statements, getting their CV together. Even Kim works with them to fill out their ARIS application in like little small group meetings, and she'll sit with them and kind of say, this is what they're asking here, make sure you include these things. And so we do a lot of guidance with the students with respect to applying and interviewing and other things like that. So those things are all part of what we do for the career planning process, especially in 4th year. And then at the end, it culminates in my favorite day of the year, which is the match. And we always have a lot of fun that day after a very tough week. All right, so here is the here's some info for you. You've probably heard rumors that we did not have a good Step 1 year last year. It also was the same year that Step 1 was, it was the first year that Step 1 was pass-fail. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. As you can see, in 2020, we were above the national average for our Step 1 pass rate. We had one student fail, so that was like, it was above 99% for our pass rate. And so we were really thinking everything was going great in 2020, even though that was the year where there were a lot of cancellations and rescheduling and a lot of turmoil, and we expected a lot of negative stuff. But our students did really well in 2020. 2021, not so well, and then but still pretty close to national average. And then 2022 just pretty much shocked us all. It was pass-fail. Again, I think that there were a lot of factors that went into that. These were the students that started in the fall of 2020 when everything was virtual. I'm going to go ahead and take the advantage of blaming COVID on this one, but also I think a big part of this, and this is after discussions with my colleagues across the country, is the mindset. So coming into med school, they knew Step 1 was going to be pass-fail. No longer did anyone have to shoot for a 250 to get into ortho. And so I think people studied to pass. I think that people thought, who can't pass this pass-fail test? I've passed everything my whole life coming up to now. And I think that the mindset shifted a little bit. And so basic, like educational, like I don't think people, I don't want to say they didn't work as hard. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it was just a mindset that just shifted around. The fear that comes with Step 1 just wasn't there. And that's my observation. And again, after discussion with my colleagues across the country. And so I think that was a big factor. We have done a lot of damage control over the last year and implemented a lot of new things and really worked hard. Currently, although we don't have the national pass rate, we're assuming it's the same as last year. So that's why this line is the same as last year. And we don't have all of our students haven't taken steps. Some have taken the first clerkship to study a little longer. We are sitting at the national average from last year. So we've improved. We're doing better, but we don't have the final numbers for currently in 2023. So anyway, I've spent a lot of time on Step 1, but I think that because there's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of confusion. And I just think, these are the students that are coming your way. These are the students that are applying from the 2022 test takers. And so I think it's important for you all to know that that's going to be the case. And so we have a lot of questions, as you might imagine, around that, and I'm sure that you all do as well. We have a little bit better news on Step 2. Our students have really always done well. I think that we have such a robust clinical experience, and we're so appreciative of our clerkships for that. But also the learning is different. It's a good learning experience to learn on your feet and be immersed into in the clinical setting. And so if you look at our school, this is U of L's. When they say school pass rate, that's U of L, and the school mean, that's U of L. So this is our individual school data that comes from the NBME. And you can see that like the last 2 years, we've had 99% pass rate in Step 2, with our mean being really right at a little bit below national average. So we're really proud of that. Our students work really hard to get this, and I know that this is going to be really important for you all going forward too. We're very hopeful this year won't be any different than the last few years. So there is that information. And I know that this year, the students taking Step 2 come from the first pass-fail Step 1 score, so that I know that they're all shooting for really high Step 2 scores. All right, so after step information comes match data. So really what I want to focus on here is just kind of essentially we had 141 match participants. We kind of talked about, why, we have plus or minus, but essentially the big numbers are here at 141. We had 100% match rate for the early match. And then for the students left that there were 139, and 123 of them matched on Monday of match week, which is a little lower than what we're used to. We're used to closer to kind of 93, 94%. Kim, you can correct me if that's wrong, but that's kind of our general match is pre-SOAP is low 90s. And then we usually get students, we get back up to 98, 99% towards the end. So we still had, this year we had 16 people obtain a residency position in SOAP, and a lot of those were first 1 year residency positions. But so our ultimate match at the end of SOAP was about 98.6%. So we are overall happy with that. Certainly the 2 students that aren't thrilled, obviously, but I think overall, just given this year, that is kind of where we are with the school from the school standpoint. From a breakdown from the number of students in each specialty, this is what we have. You can see our big ones are always pediatrics and internal medicine, but also, we had 5 in orthopedic surgery, OBGYN with 11. I think that this year is probably even more than that going into OB, just so you all are aware. We can't talk them out of it. Emergency medicine, we always have a big crew too, because our emergency medicine draws a lot of people with U of L, but all of our programs. So I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that need to be called out, but sorry. But essentially, I think that this is a pretty cool breakdown, and it's always interesting to me to see how many people go into what different specialty. So I thought maybe you all would want to know that as well. As far as primary care, this is the breakdown, just in case anyone was curious. We had about 48 or 35% of our students go into primary care. And that's the breakdown from, who stayed here in Louisville and versus who went to UK, essentially, and then out of state with the rest of them. So that's that. All right. So really, that is essentially what I wanted to tell you all. I do have some questions that I wanted to bring up and see if anybody is open or excited to talk. Oh, shoot. Well, I lost my presentation style. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can do that again. Dang it. Okay. What are your thoughts on maybe bringing back the program where we have kind of a breakout session? So it would be one time and probably be about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and probably January, February, randomly. I'm just thinking like it would be a Tuesday evening, where all the program directors kind of were given a room in the School of Medicine, and we told students to go talk to them there. Would that help things? Would that give you the program directors an opportunity to have that face-to-face time with the students early on, and then make those point of contacts and get email addresses, and then make a plan, give them all the general information up front, and then make a plan to meet with them later. It looks like from a chat standpoint, I'm hearing some good stuff. But I don't know how to, I'm trying to.
Yeah, so Dr. Curry says, great idea. Would subspecialties PDs be invited? Yes, we could do that. Dr. Barton says yes, was always really helpful prior.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and plan on that. I think that was kind of what I was thinking too, was like the overall, unless I heard, a lot of negative stuff from today, I would have, I wanted to, make sure that was something that you all, were on board with. So I agree. I think it would be really helpful. So great. We'll plan on that, Kim, and we'll work on that, and we'll get you already thinking of doing this on our own. If you still wanted to do that on your own, that's fine. I think we just wanted to create a time when all of the students work together, but we can, we're certainly happy to have everybody do your own thing too. Just keep us posted so we can be transparent with the students. Okay, so for some reason, my presentation slide takes over both screens, and so I couldn't see the chat and the presentation at the same time, but anyone doing in-person interviews? We were just wondering about that. Okay. I'm guessing probably no, and that's fine. I'm just was wondering if there was anybody here that knew that they were going to be maybe doing in person, and we would, again, prepare the students for something a little bit different than the general advice. Okay. I feel like I mean, we can go on forever about the pros and cons, but it does seem like the students appreciate the virtual in that it's financially, it's much more um, equitable in that respect. I think that certainly getting the feel of a program is hard, and I know getting the feel for the student individually, there's just something about being in person that's helpful. But I think it does seem like it's worked out overall pretty well for the last few years. Okay, and then I put geographical and program signaling here. That's a big topic, and we don't have to necessarily go on that. I don't have specific questions other than what are you all telling your students? Because that seems like the area, I mean, it's so new to us and everybody is doing something different. And so really what we've been saying is go to your specialty specific mentor, talk to the program director. But if you'd like us to share that responsibility with you and back you up on some of the things that you're saying or make sure that we're transparent with the students, we're happy to do that too. So, I mean, if you want to give us that information, I really do think of us all working together as a team, and I would love to really work on having more open lines of communication between the programs and the school. And so if there are things that you want us to tell them for you, we're happy to do those things. I have hard conversations with these students all the time. Sometimes they hear them, sometimes they don't. But we want to be able to have those conversations with them too. So share any information that you have.
Hey, Chris Barton here.
Hey, Chris.
Every program is vastly different, every subspecialty for this, but I think probably the most common question from students is should they signal their own program? I think that's probably the biggest one. And I know the ACGME, and I know there's some groups that are trying to like get a universal rule on this. But like I think eventually if we could have like a standard answer for everybody, I think potentially would probably be helpful. I know of, some students who were told different things at different places, and then it's interpreted different ways by different people as they're being interviewed.
Yeah, I agree. And so one of the things that I wanted to tell you all that that Kim and I are working on. So I know we've done this in the past, but we're going to, right after this, we're going to send out a little survey. I think it's like 10 or 11 questions. And it's questions that we have for the program directors. We tried to keep it short, but also there's so much that we wanted to know. And so I'm going to email this all out. I'd love the program directors to fill it out, or if the program coordinator like knows all the answers and has all the, has had these discussions and you all have had these groups, then that's fine to fill it out. I just really wanted to get a good idea of what all the programs are telling us. And one of the questions that I do have on there is, are you advising your Louisville students to signal you? And there are questions on there like, what's your minimum step 2 score? Some people want to say that and are free to share it with us. Some people don't. I put it all on there. All the responses are required, but if you don't want to answer something or you don't know, just let us know that. Just say, I'd rather not say, or we have a minimum, but we're not really disclosing it because we are going to consider our students with lower scores, or we're going to look at other factors too. So that would be my preference if you all don't mind. So when I'm sending out this, when we send out the survey, I ask several questions like that, like I said. And if there's things that you're just like, there's not just the top 3 answers, or I've got a lot more holistic vision for what I see, just explain that to us. And that would be the ideal, just to kind of have an idea of kind of backing those things up. Does that make sense?
Can you make that like, so like the step 2 question, could you like, Kim, could you make a one of the answer choices just no set number?
Well, it's free text.
So it's
yeah,
all
we
free
made
text.
it. We made
It's
it free
all free
text.
text.
Not
Okay.
all
Yeah.
free text, but a lot of those answers are free text. So that's why I'm saying, like, that way, if you all don't have a set answer, or you're considering all applicants, that, you know, not considering all applicants, but like you're considering, you know, it doesn't, there's a lot of other factors that go into it. Just let us know that. That would be great. Okay. And then I think I alluded to this, but every year we hear students that don't match, and we hear later on that the program was really concerned about them and didn't expect them to match. I think, you know, I can't give you all that information. I can't give you all a lot of information, and I wouldn't go and say like, hey, I'm worried about this person necessarily. But if you all have interacted with someone who you think really needs some interview coaching before they start, we usually know too, but it can be really helpful. Some people do fly under the radar until they get to the programs, or if there's somebody that is way out of their league for multiple reasons, and you just don't feel like they're going to have a chance. If you could, and if you feel, if you have the time, it would be really helpful to email me or Kim and just let us know that, hey, or just, you can call. I'm happy to do that too. If you'd rather not put it in writing, I understand that too. But it's just really helpful for us too, because again, like, I can back you up. I can have that hard conversation with the student, because and I will tell you, just to know what is coming from the School of Medicine from an advising standpoint, is if a student comes to me and is like, you know, maybe they failed step 1 and have 2 clerkship shelf failures, and they're saying, I want to go into OB. My typical response to any student, let's say like that, going into a difficult specialty, I will say, I will never tell a student that it's impossible, because that's not my job. Like, it's not, I can't, because stranger things have happened. There have been success stories from, you know, years past. So I will never tell somebody that they cannot do a specialty that their heart is set on. But I will tell them when it is an uphill battle, their chances are slim, and they need to have a plan B. And so those are the conversations that I usually have. Like, okay, if you want to put all your eggs in the OB basket and you are going to go all in and do everything you have to do and be that rock star, a student who overcomes all odds and matches an OP, then let's do that. This is what you need to do that. But also, I need you to have a plan. And if that plan is, well, I'll take a year off and do a year of research and then reapply, and then I'll dual apply, fine. Or if you're going to dual apply now, fine. Those are the conversations that we have. And so I guess I don't want anyone to walk away from here thinking that School of Medicine tells them they can do whatever they want, because it's not true. I mean, I do, again, have those hard conversations, and Kim and I have talked about that a lot. We both do have those hard conversations with the students and give them that reality check. But again, this is where it's really helpful to have that, to be backed up by the program too, because I know sometimes there are some programs that want to be the ones that are also like, give them the reality check, and they'll say, listen, this isn't going to work for you. But I think there are some programs that don't want to say that either, which is fine too. I get it. But I think as long as we're kind of giving correlating advice to students, that would be ideal. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're concerned about somebody and you are comfortable sharing that with us, we would love that information, and we can help guide them to work on Plan B earlier. Does that make sense? Does that sound? Is there something else you'd rather me say? Okay. Okay, and then there's one last ask. So we have the one with we have a survey that we're sending out to all the program directors that we would love for you to complete so we can keep, again, just kind of have correlating information and share that similar information with the students. But then also UME, Undergraduate Medical Education, has asked me to ask all of the program directors to review the list of recommended electives for your M4s. So probably 5 years ago, so some of you may be new to this since then, the program directors from each specialty went through our electives and said, for all of the incoming interns, I would love for these M4s to take these courses to be better prepared to become the doctor in the specialty that you're in. And so we have those again. We're going to ask you to just review them, check them off. If there's anything you want to add, if there's a new boot camp that your program has developed, or if there are new electives that you feel like something, or if you were like, you know what, this really isn't helping them, I'd much rather see infectious disease or whatever before they come. We would love that input before we publish it to the students to select this fall. What else? You all have questions for us? Any requests like that you would love for us to start doing that we're not doing? Okay, I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you. One thing I didn't really add in was MSPE. Kim and I do the dean's letter. If it's very scripted from a national standpoint as far as what goes into it. But if you've seen things from other schools that are more helpful, or we do have a question on our survey about the noteworthy characteristics, but if there's other things that you think that we could be doing better or differently that would be more helpful for you, I'd love that feedback. You can do that offline too. Included our email addresses here. So again, really happy to open up dialogue between the programs and the school, and we want to make it easier for you if we can. We'd love for you to help us tell the students the right stuff so that we can maximize their chances of being successful. And I know this is, from a school standpoint, I know that's the goal. All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.